I think when I first moved, it was, I'm not even gonna lie, I think people who've read like the pieces that I've written in 2021, going into 2022, and like even on my podcast, I speak about how difficult a year that was because it was just a completely new, like I'm starting a new job.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Serious Hangout, where meaningful conversations meet faith inspired insights. Join us as we explore life's biggest questions, share personal stories, and dive right into topics that matter the most. From faith to purpose, relationships to personal growth, this is your safe space to explore, reflect, and grow together. Please subscribe, comment, and like. See you on the other side. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode on the Serious Hangout. With me today, I have Maija Matheus. Hi, Maija.
Hello. This is awkward.
It's lovely to have you.
Lovely to be. I'm humbled.
Yeah,
by the invite.
Yeah, Maija, tell us about you. I'll allow you to introduce yourself because I don't think I'll do justice. So
I don't know if I'll do justice to it either. You need to tell the people why you invited me here. Sure. Okay, so my name is Maija Matheus. I think I'm known by a lot of different names depending on where you know me from. So I'm gonna go through my names quickly.
Okay.
Ndahambelera is my first name. Ndahambelera Maija. Ndafuda Matheus. Those are my official names. But if you're in Nana, you probably know me by Dongolo.
Oh.
Or Nangula. And then if you're elsewhere, you know me by other names. But yeah, a lot of people know me by at least those names. Nangula, Dongolo. I think those are my childhood names. Yeah, but lived all of my life in, oh, not all of my life, but most of my childhood in Nana. Went to school in Nana. Hoping anyone from my Mbili is watching this podcast. Studied accounting at university and started working in auditing. And then, yeah, a couple of years ago, about 3 years ago, moved to the UK and met you at some random event. Yeah. That's about me.
And yeah. Wonderful. It was lovely to meet you then. We were just talking about it today, and I'm like, wow, when last did I see you?
But it feels like I feel like I've seen you recently, but I think it's because we talk often.
Yeah, that's
so true. Yeah, and I watch your YouTube, so maybe that also feels like a conversation with me in some way. So
that's true. Yeah. I think that's the thing about social media, or not social media, but just being in contact. You just feel like, thank you, technology.
Honestly, because there's still like constant contact. People don't feel as further away from you as they used to be before technology. So
Maija, the name Maija, that's interesting. That's a beautiful name.
Thank you.
I know the Oshiwambo name, but this one is special. Like, what does it mean? Does it have any meaning? Or?
I don't like to say the meaning because it's not a nice meaning. Okay. It comes from Maria, or it's like, I think the Finnish name to Maria. So the origin is Maria.
Oh, okay.
But it's spelled as Maija, which is a Finnish way of spelling it.
Okay.
And it's because I'm named after my aunt, who I think was named after a Finnish missionary. Back then. And so it's written kind of different from how other people write Maija, which is usually Maya or Maja. Yeah.
Oh, but it's beautiful.
It means bitter, which
I would have never thought it would.
It means bitter, and I had a choice between saying Dahambelela, which is a praise. This is a nice name,
it's a beautiful name,
and Maija. But I go by Maija just because I don't like people. I don't have the patience to constantly be telling people how to pronounce my first name, and I don't think there's a way to shorten Dahambelela.
And I don't think you should.
Exactly.
Like, because it's such a, you have to say the full name to actually get the meaning.
Yeah. So.
But yeah. Okay. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah. I think some of the viewers didn't even know that.
More the meaning. I think the meaning will shock a lot of people.
Yeah.
Someone said to me one time we were working, she said, Maija, that's why you like sour sweets. It's bitter, Maija. And I was like, makes sense. Makes sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So what book are you reading now? Is there any book you're reading?
Oh, I haven't read it in a few weeks. But the last book I read, which I didn't finish yet, is a book called She's Still in There.
Yeah.
Which is basically a book like just reminding someone that, you know, when you grow up, you have this vision of who you are, and you're this very dreamy, very ambitious little girl, and then life happens to you, and then you start thinking, where did that girl? Where did that girl go? So I feel like that book is just reminding people, girls, that dreamy girl, that ambitious girl, I don't know, whatever things you think you lost because life happened, they're still in there, and you can just nurture them and bring them back to life. So yeah, that's what I was reading. I want to say I'm reading it now because I haven't read it in a while.
You're right as well. You forgot to mention that. You're
right. You see, that's what I'm saying. The intro, you should have.
You're right, because when you said, when I actually asked you the question, I was like reading, but yeah, you're right as well.
Yeah.
Maija writes. That's what it's called.
I used to have a blog on WordPress called Maija Writes, and I used to just I love to express how I feel. Because I don't usually do it in normal relationships with her. So the way I express how I feel is by writing or sometimes recording. So I write about my feelings. I haven't written in a while, but I still on my WhatsApp write the few pieces.
So that's how I get free content or what?
Yeah, it's an entertainment channel. My WhatsApp is an entertainment channel. It's
like
good.
If you have a number, you're lucky, because we're entertained for free. Yeah, that's beautiful. You're a podcaster as well, Maija. Really?
I didn't say all. Okay, so I love writing. I'm a podcaster.
Yeah.
My podcast is called The Freedom Pod by Maija Matheus. Yeah. Again, it's really about how I feel and just the things that happen in my life. I think everything that I do, writing, speaking, is for us to feel like we're a community in some way, because I think we go through life thinking, I'm the only one going through this, or like, is anyone else feeling the way I'm feeling, or like, does this affect anyone else? And then you say it, and then you realize at least one person feels the way you do.
Yeah.
And that's usually enough for me. Just to know like there's one person that understands how I feel, or that can relate, or that, I don't know, has to some extent has felt the way I'm feeling. Is good enough for me to be like, okay, I'm gonna put on one podcast, or I'm gonna share how I feel, how certain things feel, although sometimes they're very personal. Just to know like someone will listen to this and be like, okay, I'm not the only one, or like, okay, I'm heard, I'm understood. So my podcast is really a lot of feelings.
It's interesting that you say that you create this podcast based on, or just simply to have that community to help people relate. Yeah. Because I think on one of your episodes, I commented and I was like, you're speaking about your friend that you lost.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, that's exactly how I felt when I lost my uncle. Yeah. And you touched me, so you did a good job.
Funny enough, it took me so long to record that episode. But yeah, I think again, it's whenever I put out something, or when I started even writing, I think it was a thing of for God. For God, and then because I would be like, yeah, but why would it matter to anyone? And then we'll be like, well, just put it out for me. Yeah. And then okay, then I would just do for the one person that he thinks I should do it for, and then it turns out it's one person and Joyce and someone else, some random person found me on Instagram, and so yeah, it's it gives me joy that it ends up where it goes. But if it were still just for one person, I would, I think, still do it.
Because I remember when we changed when I was talking to you before I changed the Serious Hangouts direction of the conversations that we're gonna have on here, I told you that I'm not quite sure that people will listen to it because of the direction, and you have that fear that you'll lose viewers as well. And you said as long as you just create for an audience of one, and that's been the thing. Like I'm just like, okay, as long as I just do it for God, and as long as I just do it for that one person that listen to it, touched in some way, and that keeps you going. Yeah, because it really gets to you, because you think,
who's gonna listen? And I'm like, this takes time. It takes time, But yeah, even if you do it if God says do it, you've obeyed by just doing it. Whether one person listens, whether it ends up with no view or 20 views, I don't know. You've done what you're supposed to do. So
it's funny that you say that, because when this channel was growing, like now I don't know how many followers we have, probably I think 50 something, but when we started, I looked at it and I was like, oh my goodness, you're 17. And but later I just had this gratitude, like, that it's 20 people who actually look, because you can see who clicks through the videos and who actually listen to the entire thing, and you're like, okay, 20 people actually listen to this, like full. So full on someone, one out of the 20 should have gotten something. Yeah. And that just gives you that joy, like, oh, okay, it's valuable to someone. And there's a reason they stayed for the whole time. Yeah. So, and that is what keeps me going. Like, at first I probably had other intentions, but now it's like, but you're doing a great job. You are doing a great job. You're doing a great job. And also, like, I feel like I applaud your consistency. I know I haven't seen a few videos recently. I don't know if you put some, but I applaud your consistency, because that's hard. Yeah. It's hard to find guests, but it's also hard to find like things to talk about. Yeah. And keep that consistency growing, and especially with the change. Yeah. Finding things that you should talk about with the change. That's I think hard. The one thing I struggled with is that I was always looking for people to fill in, but now I'm less concerned about that. I think most of my episodes, at least for season 1, would be me talking, because I think I want to share my story. Yeah. And I should not worry about, which is a good story, by the way, guys. It is a good story. It's a good story. So I want to share my story, and I think I have a lot to give, because sometimes you feel like I don't have anything to give. I need to get my other show. I need to get who, which is obviously not like you have something else to say. But if I keep on doing that, I'm stretching myself too much, because if you don't have people, you're like, what am I going to record? What am I going to say? So, but now that I'm obeying, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to record, and that is going to help me, just create this consistency. Because I wrote it on my vision board, and I'm like, okay, show up for God. Because now I'm not showing up for myself. Even when I don't feel like it, I have to show up for God. Yeah. So I'm like, show up for God. Create content. We're going to hold you accountable to this. This is on the internet. You're there. Every time we don't see videos, we're like, are you not showing up for God? Go, what's going on? What's going on? Please. Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned that you moved from Namibia to the UK 2 years ago. Yeah. So what prompted the move? And how has it been? Poverty. And what has been? Sorry, I interrupted. Yeah, and how has it been? Okay. So I think I'll give the background. The firm that I worked for used to give secondments. Okay. So it's basically a chance. At the end of your articles, when you qualify as a chartered accountant, you get a chance to work anywhere in the world where we have offices. Okay. So you get options between like Australia, I think some people went to Canada, the US, and the UK. I wanted to go to Malta because I just wanted to go to Malta. Yeah. But then I didn't get Malta, so I ended up being in London for like the 3 months in 2020, just before the pandemic. Oh, okay. But when I came here, it was good, right? I had fun. Mm-hmm. It was, I think, it was actually my first time seeing like a live football match. I actually went to Emirates and watched Arsenal, and they won. Arsenal. We didn't win the Premier League, but that's a story for another day. Yeah. So I really had fun, but I couldn't see myself settling in the city. It felt like too big a city for me. Okay. And so I was like, yeah, sharp. I'm never coming back here. It was good. Yeah, but that's really but that's it. And like I went home, and the firm that I worked with, because I had done my contract. Okay. And I hadn't renewed a contract with them, but they were kind enough to sort of like give me an extension. Okay. To say, we understand you don't have a job, and the pandemic is pandemicing, so you can work for us for a couple of months until you figure out what you want to do with your life, like whether you want to stay with us, okay, or you want to go in industry. We'll give you like. Did you move back home, or were you still based? No, we moved back home after when the pandemic hit. So my secondment was from January to April. Okay. But then the pandemic started in March, and so by end of March, beginning of April, we had to move back. We were one of those people. You people didn't want to come. Namibians, they didn't want us to come back home. They were like, "Stay where you are. Why did you move up?" And then we arrived, and people didn't want to touch us, and we were quarantined for 14. Oh, guys. Yeah. Anyways, so I moved back home without a job, kinda. But then the firm that I was working for
gave me that contract.
Oh yeah.
To work for them for a couple of months while I was sorting my life out. But I didn't want to stay with them. Good firm, but I felt like I needed a work-life balance of some kind.
Okay.
And I was gonna step into a new role, and that might have been like different dynamics, and I probably wouldn't have the work-life balance I had.
Yeah.
So I was looking for a job, and I couldn't find a job.
Mm.
I couldn't find a job, and I first said it was the pandemic because I started looking for a job in like April.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find a job, and the next thing we are in July.
Yeah.
And I can't find a job, and my contract is ending in August with the firm, and I can't find a job. And so I'm like, what to do now? Because I think at first I was saying it's the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I thought there was a job freeze or like a hiring freeze everywhere.
Yeah.
But then I would call the people that put up the roles, and I would ask them like, what's happening, and they would actually say, no, the role was filled. So I was like, oh, okay, so I'm actually not getting.
You're not getting.
It's not that there's a hiring freeze. You're just
not getting it.
You know. And so I then started praying about just what to do. Do I go back to the firm?
Yeah.
Because I can't stay home. That's
and they are willing to obviously now.
They are willing to make me permanent.
Oh, yeah.
So really, and I don't want to drag them on by them renewing my contract every month.
Yeah.
Because that's also just unfair on them. Like, do you want to stay with us or not?
Yeah.
Just decide. So I started praying, and I started feeling like I must go back to the UK. But I said, no. We discussed this.
We're not moving back.
We don't want to be there. And I've got my family, and I support my mom, and like my granny is getting old. So really, that and personally at that stage, I really wanted to do a lot for my community. So I remember telling someone that the UK doesn't feel like a place where I could do like a lot of like social responsibility activities, and because I would have to find like a community where I would have to be able to do those things. Whereas at home, I can walk into my primary school and say, "Hey guys, let's do this project." It's different here.
Yeah, it's different.
So I was just like, I feel like the person that I want to be in the UK, they don't align. And then the Lord started saying, no, you need to go there because I feel like you're gonna grow. I said, Jesus, grow how? In what way can I grow in the country that I can't grow? Yeah,
that you can't do that.
You know, and so I started wrestling with that idea that I felt God saying, I need you, the person. It's almost like that place will mold you into the person that I know you should be.
Okay.
And I was wrestling with that because I was just like, well, you can do it here, first of all. Second, there's all these other things that I have to now take care of, like my mom and everything. So it's just, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a job, so I ended up just sending an email to one of the guys that I worked with when I was here, and I got a job with an interview where people were asking me about the weather.
That's the thing in the UK, the weather. But you need to speak about the weather in the UK. Like, you cannot not speak about the weather because the weather is so horrible that you have to speak about it.
I appreciate the fact that they allow us to talk bad about their weather, because I can just really say this is a crappy weather. Why is it sunny one moment and then cold the next and then rainy and So I got the job, but I couldn't start it until the following year, January. But I could only still start it I could only move in July of the following year. So from October of 2020 until December, I worked for the local firm. They extended my contract for the local firm.
Okay.
And then from January of 2021 until June of 2021, I was working for the UK firm, but from Namibia.
Yay.
Yeah. I wasn't earning pounds, just in case you're wondering why I didn't give any of my friends money, those that are watching. And then in June, I moved to the UK. So, yeah.
So 2021, that was still like mid-pandemic.
Yeah. It
was still like...
So when I came here, I had to quarantine again.
Yeah.
It wasn't nice. I'm not gonna lie. I think, it was one of those seasons.
You did the 10-day in the hotel, right?
14, yeah.
14?
No, 7 days. No, we did a week, I think. No, we did 10 days.
10 days, because I did 10 days.
Yeah, I think we did 10 days in the hotel. My hotel was nice. My hotel was 5-star. It was lovely. I don't appreciate the fact that I have sandwiches for lunch. So our lunch was delivered and it was always sandwiches. And I was just like, where's the rice? Where's the meats? But it was, I've heard other horror stories where people didn't like the places they were living and the food was horrible. My food was just like, I just want more spice and more meat.
And spice and salt.
Yeah, but
I think
wasn't bad.
I was at one of the places here in Canary Wharf as well.
Really?
Redison.
Oh.
Yeah, so mine was nice, but the food was just like Indian cuisine. So mostly I would just order in.
Oh, I also ordered
like
in
Indian, and I'm like, okay.
But yours was very central.
You get tired. Like, you get tired of Indian and the croissants, my goodness. At one point, I don't want to smell them anymore because I was just like, don't bring me breakfast.
Oh, wow.
People back home thought like, yo, you're just complaining. But if you're eating croissants for 10 days, every day, you guys, you'll get tired.
Everything just gets tiring, I think, for me. I hated the yogurt after the third day because I was just like, it's the same kind of yogurt, just maybe sometimes different flavors. So it smells.
Yeah, it's like a hospital. Now I understand when people are like in the hospital, they're like, I'm tired.
I don't want to
eat. You look at them, you're like, but this food looks good.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm tired of this.
No,
but wow. All the way from Namibia to the UK, not wanting to move, but actually moving.
Yeah.
That looks like a big. That looks like you had to put aside what you thought you wanted or needed.
Yeah.
To actually obey to what God has in store for you.
Yeah.
Even if you were like, but
I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand. But it's oceans away. It's another continent. You still obey.
Yeah. Which sad. I was literally telling someone, I think the Lord made it easier for me with the fact that there wasn't a job. And I think it would have been a very different and difficult thing to navigate had I gotten a job back home.
That's true.
And then the Lord said, I'm calling you to the UK. And I would have to kind of wrestle having to leave one of the jobs I would have just recently joined to be like, guys, I feel the Lord is saying I should go to the UK. So yeah.
Oh, wow. And how has that obedience looked like, moving to the UK? I know sometimes it takes a while to actually see what God is trying to do in your life. But do you now see like, in hindsight, like this is what I see.
Hindsight's the word.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I see. I think when I first moved, it was, I'm not even gonna lie, I think people who've read like the pieces that I've written in 2021, going into 2022, and like even on my podcast, I speak about how difficult a year that was. Because it was just a completely new, like I'm starting a new job. It's not a new job because it's some people I've had worked with already, but when you work for a place and you're leaving.
Okay.
That was me on secondment. It was like, I'm not here. I'm just here for a good time, So you don't get as many responsibilities because people know you are just here for 3 months. And then I joined permanently and was like, I now actually have to fit in the culture and the work style. And fit in the idea that I'm actually really away from home and I have to make this place my home. Like this is home. And I have to create a community for myself. And I was struggling to kind of fit in with the church as well because I couldn't find my people. And so it felt very alone. And I think I was probably depressed. I don't know if but I was going through a rough time then. So it didn't make sense for me then how I think the full picture of why exactly God had called me to come here. But there were like glimpses of what it meant for him to say, I'm molding you.
Okay.
And I held on into the idea that this is part of the molding because a lot of things that were causing me so much grief were actually just challenges that I needed to take on, which were good for me. But a challenge, even though it's good for you, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And so like I was appreciating the fact that these challenges were like making me a better, I was an assistant manager then, so like making me a better professional. But it was just tough. Sometimes it would mean like I don't sleep. Sometimes it would mean like I get over my nerves. Sometimes it would mean like I don't know, like I'm not. I wouldn't say like I'm firm. And so like it would mean like I actually have to be stern with people and be like, you can't do this or you cannot do that. And so all of that was like pruning, I guess. So in retrospect, or in hindsight, I can see what God was saying.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of moments where I was like, you could have done this in a different way. You could have taught me this lesson in a different way.
Yeah.
I think my favorite thing, and God was very intentional about the move to the UK, is I think people underestimate what happens when you move into a completely different environment where people don't have a preconceived idea of who you are.
Yeah.
And it has allowed me to decide who I am and live in my true self without someone having to remind me of like things that I've buried
or
and
that you're trying to leave behind.
You know, it's like I use this phrase all the time. Sometimes you have been in AA for 3 years, like is it AA? Alcohol Anonymous, and people will still remind you like, oh, you're a drunkard, and you're like, I've been sober for like 4 years now. Why are you still, you know? And so home sometimes feel like that. Home sometimes feels like someone just continuously bringing up, you know, things that you're trying to walk away from, people that you're trying to walk away from. And so I think for me, that's the greatest blessing besides like the professional life. Is like I feel like I'm walking in who I actually am. I'm discovering who I am. I'm discovering my voice. I'm discovering things that I like to do, even with clothes, which I really love. I'm discovering my style, and I'm realizing, oh yeah, you know, my style will make people very upset somewhere else. You know, like, you know, I don't want to wear skinny jeans anymore. I just want to wear a wide leg, and people are like, I know, I think skinny jeans. But for me, it makes me so much joy because it's like the style that I resonate with. But finding that style, it makes me happy. But I don't think it would have happened had I. Yeah.
I think living in, I don't know now, I haven't lived anywhere else, but living in like the UK, it just allows you to be your full self, like you said. You don't have prying eyes. You don't feel like you're gonna meet someone at the tuck shop, and even if you do meet someone, they don't care about how you look. Like you can just be you, and that is totally fine. Wow.
So I love that. I think that's the growth I think he wanted. It's just to see me bloom in a way.
Oh wow. It must have been emotionally draining, but also awakening. It's like you first have to go through the pits. It's like God, they say that God works with you when you're low, like at your lowest. That's why when you're fasting, you're hungry, and you're low on energy. That is when you really hear the voice of God. You know, so I think when you go through trials and tribulations and all these challenges that you think, oh my goodness, I can't. Why am I even here? That is when you see, oh, okay, I see what God is trying to do. And it's not always easy to see. And it's not always easy to accept also, because you're just like, so sometimes I find myself like thinking like, I can just be home. Like, I shouldn't even be looking for friends in the first place.
I have friends.
I shouldn't be worrying about, like just simple things, man. Like yesterday, I came home and my head was I was just feeling so unwind. I'm like, oh my God. Like if I was home, like someone would look after me. Like my mom would be there, or my brother, I can just call a cousin up and be like, I'm really not feeling well. Can you just come? But here it's like you have to look after yourself.
You have to look after yourself.
And I'm like, why am I complaining? It's one day that I'm sick out of we constantly let just one just small trouble, and then you're like, oh my God, I just want to go back home. But you forget about what God has really been good. Like for me, I cannot even complain. God has really, really been good, and wow. But small things, you're just like, I can just book a flight home.
Funny you say that, because remember I told you there was a friend that just left.
Oh yeah.
Oh, God is gracious, guys. So sometimes I don't know when I'm going through a funk, right? So I sometimes only at the end of my funk I realize I think I was having a tough time last week, and I just didn't realize. I was just, and so she came on Thursday. And then I was just like, I just have a migraine, but I'm just very cranky. Like, I don't know, I'm not, I'm not 100% myself, but it's been that way the whole week. And I can't really figure out what it is. I can't figure out if there were any triggers. I don't think there were any triggers or anything. And then she was home yesterday. She didn't work, so I was working, but we were just talking the whole day. And then today she left, and I was like, the last time you were here, I remember when you left, I thank God that you came the day you came, because I was going through something. I don't even know what it was, but I was having a tough time. And today, when she left, and I was like, turn out to really have great timing with like every time you come here, you leave me in such a better mood, or you just uplift me, and you don't have to do much.
That's true.
Like, oh, she likes cooking for me, so sometimes she cooks for me.
Oh.
And then yesterday she just helped me like clean up my house, and like it was just simple things, but I was like, thanks.
And you appreciate those things.
Yeah.
Back home you have all this up, and I always say like we're so blessed as, I don't know, Namibians, I would say Namibians.
Yeah.
Because you have all this helping, you don't really consider or you don't appreciate that.
Yeah.
But then when you come cups, I had a friendship breakup recently, and it's so tough. It's tough because what you think at home is okay is not okay here.
Yeah.
So this girl told me that it's so funny. I'm actually laughing because it's funny. Like when I think of it, it's like it was a no-brainer to me. If we are friends and I ask you, "Oh Maija, you have a nice jacket. I've really been looking for jackets. Where did you buy this?"
Yeah.
Would you feel that I'm invading or something?
What do you mean? No.
You know?
So, you can get the same jacket if you want the same jacket. I could probably even buy it for you if your birthday's coming up.
Yeah, and I asked her something about a bank. Like I was like, "Oh, I saw this is about a bank, and I'm really trying to do this ABCD, and I'm struggling." And you said you have that. How did you get it?
Yeah.
No, I just feel that every time you call me, you're asking me something. I'm like, okay, when did I ask you something? Maybe if I'm asking you is, where did you buy the hair that you have?
Yeah.
We're in the UK, we might help each other. It's not like I'm in America where I can just go to.
Yeah.
Where did you buy your hair? And those are common questions amongst Black women, at least.
And especially in the UK.
Nails. I'm trying to do my nails for cheap.
Yeah.
How much did you do your nails? You know, it's just conversation. And she made me feel like I'm always asking for things.
Yeah.
And then, but then I felt so bad. I felt so bad. And then this just reminded me that back home, things that are fine back home are not fine here. Because there's cultural differences, there's how people see things. You might think something is like a no-brainer like that, and then someone else is like, you keep asking me questions, you know. Yeah. So that just reminded me of that, and I'm like,
no, like but the thing with the UK is also like the cultural difference can mess you up in some way, because it's like, I don't understand why that's a big deal. Yeah, other people are like, that is a big deal.
Yeah, it is deep. So now you're constantly like threading it, and it's like, should I step? Shouldn't I? Am I too? You know, but in any way.
Yeah.
I feel that obedience and worry is like they go. It's like they go together. Not go together. They're like, for you to be obedient, you have to let God.
Yeah.
And you have to fully let God.
Yeah.
Really proclaim. Be in your life, right? So worry is one of those things that really hinder obedience. Yeah. Like, because if, for instance, you were worried that if I move to the UK, am I gonna meet people? How is it gonna be? You have all this, but if, but what. And then you worry so much that you say, I would rather not. I would rather be in Namibia. You wouldn't have moved.
Yeah. Wouldn't have. I think for me, I appreciate that God speaks to us personally and makes the plans that He has for our lives known to us, and especially in ways that we understand.
Oh yeah.
Because I knew that I was walking in a shadow of myself, and He's kind of revealed snips, and like I know who the person that I want to be, and I understood that I wasn't living the life that I wanted to be. Okay. It was sort of, I don't know, a risk to take with Him, because He had revealed to me like the place that I need to be. And so I held on. I held on because I knew like the promise that God had for myself. It didn't mean I wouldn't like be worried. Yeah. Because I worried about, I think I worried especially just for my like parents. Yeah. Like they're getting old, and I'm like starting, maybe to make a little bit of real money. So I would want to be present for them, make their life so much easier. Yeah. But if you're abroad, like no one really calls you for a small problem. So they could really not have like dishwashing liquid. and no one's calling you to ask you because you're like so far.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
if you're home, you could probably like just spontaneously travel and then find out, oh, you guys don't have just, and then you can solve little problems that would just make their life so much easier. So I think that was one of the biggest worries I had. I just remember, my mom said, you don't keep me alive.
Yeah,
like
that's
you,
true.
you're not the reason I'm. So whether you're in Windhoek or you are in the UK, if I'm gonna die, I will die.
Yeah, that's true.
So like go where you need to be. And because I had this promise, or at least this assurance of what I think he said to me, I could sort of go. I would still be worried about where things, like what the next step is, but I wasn't worried about the grand plan.
Oh yeah.
Because my thing, and I think even during COVID, the thing that held me together was me knowing that God will never leave me.
Oh yeah.
Or forsake me. So I could worry about, the next, like when I was moving, I was worrying about finances. Now who's going to pay? Because I had to pay the hotel and I had to pay all of these things. Those were like little worries, but then I wasn't worried about the greater plan of like, would I be able to completely take care of my parents the way I want to? I was like, I might not do everything that I want to.
And that's it for today's episode. Please stay tuned for next week's episode